What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Tuesday Track Talk podcast, episode number 77. We are not going to make friends tonight, and we're going to spin some people out. Shout out Carson Hosevar. So I am your gas man, Cam.
I'm your jack man, Cal.
It's your tire changer, Cam.
And we've got another jam-packed episode. Going to be tough to top the last episode that we did with, if you haven't checked it out, with Bryce Miller, the interview we did with him and super late model guy here in Wisconsin. So if you haven't checked that episode out, go give that a listen. That was a ton of fun for us. And yeah, so it's going to be tough to top that episode, but we're going to try. So before we get into things, how we doing, boys?
Finally got to race day number 1 on the year.
Yeah, you made a comment in our group chat that you beat me to the punch as far as making it to the first race of the season.
Yep, your number will be bigger than mine, but I got to the first one. So it kind of worked out that I ended up going down to the Mars Dirt Super Late Model race down at Makokada. It was only an hour from the house, so got to run down there, and you got to see the likes of Brian Shirley and Bobby Pierce and Brandon Shepard and RTJ, Dennis Erb Jr. You got to see some of the big dogs run. So that was cool. It was dirty. It was really dirty because it was super windy, so it was dry. But that racetrack on point. Well done by the track staff. So that was cool.
Nice.
So got down to one early. I mean, I didn't think I'd be putting one on the schedule prior to April 1, but here we are.
I was about to say, I'm gonna hopefully, fingers crossed, hit my first one here on the coming weekend. And then we'll be tied up going into Dells and Madison.
Yep.
And then I'll take off from there.
Yep, for sure. Things are slowly starting to open up here in the West.
Van Girl, where are you hitting next weekend?
I'm hoping
Weekly?
to hit Cedar Lake.
Yep.
For
Should be
a weekly show.
I was going to say their weekly season opener.
Mm-hmm. And as of, I don't know when this posting went out, but as of, I'm going to say last week, they were still on. So,
yep.
One thing's for certain, I'm glad I'm not riding with you on the way back. Anyways,
fair enough.
Noted.
Story for another time. The deer in Wisconsin are they come out from all angles late at night.
Do.
So
really, any other road.
Typically, you want somebody driving who's paying attention. So,
wow.
Anyways, I was just spotting them all from the back seat. I mean, insane.
Good Lord.
We'll have to do an episode on one of our favorite racing memories, and that's got to be about, if not tied for one, that's up there. That's top 3 material. So, anyways, story for another time.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into some podcast material here, and jumping into I threw some names in the group chat for this segment, and since I'm calling the shots today. Segment's going to be called News from on Top of the Pit Box. So we got some news from around all different types of NASCAR, or all different types of disciplines of racing. So I'll kick it to one of my pit crew members, and you guys can kick it off.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and grab this first one. Austin Hill, part-time Cup schedule with RCR in the 33. So he will run a handful of races for them in that kind of open car as a part of his repertoire with RCR.
Which wouldn't be the first time. He's already ran a handful of races with RCR in the Cup Series. Did more super speedway stuff than anything else.
Yep, for sure.
But RCR also has a very good habit of letting guys run part-time schedules in the Cup car when they're in the Xfinity Series, with plans on moving them up to the Cup Series.
Yep.
So,
for sure.
To that point as well, Jesse Love is also going to be making some starts with RCR. He'll be making his Cup debut with them. I never did catch where it was at.
Bristol.
Bristol.
Bristol,
It's a
Bristol,
hell of a
baby.
way to get an introduction. It was only announced for Bristol, but Bob Hocker's theorized that there will be more starts for him on the schedule as well.
Yep. So they just announced his debut, but he expects a fair slate of races for him to make with that same car as well.
Yep.
So
I will take this next one. Some big news in the wing sprint world. Tony Stewart Racing is announced they are moving away from Ford Performance engines for sprint car points racing. And did anybody confirm what they're going with? I saw rumors it was Chevy.
I never got a confirmation either.
I didn't get a confirmation, but that was kind of the assumption.
We all saw the same thing essentially.
Got it.
Yep.
So that's out there circulating a little bit, but either way, big move for Tony Stewart Racing and Donnie and that whole team. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from here.
They've been with Ford for years.
Long time. Yep. I feel like this last bullet point is kind of a good one for Cam.
Thanks. Cordele Speedway and the UARA, mainly Cordele Speedway, that's important to note here, have postponed their next Superfest race, which would be running this coming weekend, April 5th, which would have conflicted with the ASA race at Dominion's Raceway. Why you send this over to me is because I have not been quiet as far as my disdain for this UARA ASA beef that they got going on.
Yep.
And Ricky Brooks even said that it was not necessarily his decision, it was the track's decision as well. So
yeah, kind of an interesting move. Knowing those series were kind of going separate ways.
And especially when that series, but that race in particular has brought in both Stephen Assey and Bob Pollard in the past.
Yep.
And with both of them being platinum members for the SA, kind of conflicts a little bit. So
yeah, push came to shove.
Yep. No further date was announced for it, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
Yep.
And I'll take this last one here. I mean, we could just talk about this in a whole episode here, coming off of this past weekend. Just the NASCAR series in a general, at Xfinity. Just Xfinity was wow. As Mike Joyce said, that's a dumpster fire, but dumpster fires are contained, and the Xfinity series is not contained right now. So,
Yep.
coming from a guy like that, shows where we're at in that series. So that was pretty wild. Truck race was wild as well.
Yep. NASCAR is looking into the Sammy Smith Taylor Gray incident on that last lap. So kind of have to stay tuned to see if anything comes of that, but they're looking at it.
Yeah. So, Cup race was relatively clean. We'll get into a little bit of that, but yeah, it was a wild weekend for all three series at NASCAR, and we knew that, short track racing. But I think
Yep.
we're in a little bit of uncharted territory here. So yeah,
I mean,
as Boyer and the boys said in the booth, you want to get some respect back, take the security guards out from between the boys. So
Yeah, they did keep them separated there.
which it's to the point where you can't even talk to a guy without a security guy standing in between,
Yeah.
two drivers at this rate.
Yep. It's become more and more prominent.
Yeah, it's just, and then not to mention, like, I called it before the restart that Taylor Gray was going to get shipped because the restart before that, Taylor Gray, he didn't ship him, but he bumped Sammy Smith out of the way to get the lead.
Yep.
And as soon as they started that had that restart, I'm like, yeah, Sammy's going to ship him, and sure did.
Yeah, and they junked a lot of race cars in the front stretch right before the start finish line.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys that ultimately what it came down to had good days going and just didn't get to finish due to the fact of someone else uh, roughing up the front of the field. So
Yeah.
we'll see what comes of that.
And it's just, you mentioned it, or like you just mentioned it, there's no respect. It's the
No,
art of the short track racing just isn't there with them guys.
no.
And I forget who else mentioned it too, but it's also look at how many, we preach a lot that the Xfinity series probably has some of the best racing. But if that's what those guys are putting on, and that's what's supposed to be the next crop of, cup drivers, what are they really learning?
Yeah, what gives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are they
And
learning and what are they teaching?
yep.
And part of that, yeah, is the no respect. Is it the frustrating part is somebody like Jeb Burton, who said started in the back of the field, methodically worked his way through the field, and I think was going to finish in the top 10 or did,
Yep.
and comes across the line and kept his
Jump.
car clean, driving through the entire field all day, worked his way up there and comes across the line and smashes up his car. And as a spotter says, yep, smash it up for stupid shit. So
Yep.
it's frustrating. And yeah, I don't know what it's going to take for some of these guys to learn. Um, 'Cause that's not sustainable in a sport that isn't getting any cheaper.
Correct.
Yep. And it's just, and obviously that's not the only incident either. I mean, a couple years ago we had Ty Gibbs and Brandon Jones, where Ty Gibbs sent Brandon Jones into the wall, which that was a playoff race, and could have had two Joe Gibbs cars in the playoffs, and that whole scenario played out, and just,
That was
it's
even teammates.
that was teammates. Yep. And
Yeah,
I think there was the one last year. I forget who it was between, but Allgaier was the benefit of it. There was the Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill one, I think the year before that.
yep,
I don't know if those two are buddies again.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
yep.
saw that post race. They're all drinking beer together again. So
Yep.
that's
Do what you want with that.
Right.
yep.
So I don't know. It's just, maybe it's just Martinsville that they do that as well. We'll see, I
Yeah,
guess, what happens when we go to Bristol if that same mentality comes into play. But it's obviously has really come to light at whenever we go to Martinsville.
for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens here. Um, yeah, I don't know. It is in it. We want to talk about our sport and get our sport. Other people talking about it. It was a lot of people were talking about it on Saturday night on social media, but for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, I don't know. Some of these cup guys like Denny said, I think if he was in the booth, he would have never been welcome back because he would have some of the stuff he would have said. But I don't know what it's going to take. A cup guy to talk to these guys and say, look, you guys, like, I don't know.
Well, and somebody had mentioned too, like, maybe
Nobody
there's a
nobody gets held accountable for the shit they do. That
yep.
is what it comes down to. And so these guys can keep doing this and knowing until NASCAR said, until NASCAR says, like, Denny actually had a good point on Twitter. He put this would be a perfect race for NASCAR to have an avoidable contact penalty.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or just do
But
the, two things that I saw. One was, maybe there's a correlation between cup drivers not being able to race as many Xfinity races and the respect going down that way. which, back in the day, that was probably one of those things where you roughed up a veteran like that. He comes over to you and grabs her by the shoulder strap of the fire suit and says, listen here, buddy,
Yep.
I'm going to give you a teaching lesson right here, and you better not forget about it.
Yep.
Or you really bust out the short track rules, and if you cause a spin, you go to the back.
Yep. If you're involved in any facet, send them to the rear, just like they do any other short
A
track
rough
race.
driving penalty of sorts.
Yep. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. The whole Sammy Smith situation, and yeah, not ideal for our sport this past week, and not a product that many people were proud of. So
And if I'm Sammy Smith and I get penalized, I'm appealing immediately. And I'm going back to other races where I hit a guy and that where somebody got hit in that same fashion. Let's not forget Taylor Gray didn't hit the wall either. He
correct.
just spun.
Yep.
So what's not like he
Yep.
right reared him either. So
Yeah. What's
where do you
fair?
draw
What's
the
not?
line?
Yep. For sure.
oh, Van Gogh, you got the
What?
boxing gloves out tonight.
Well, that's again, it's one of those things that, and Pete Pistone said this too. Like, this has got to be one of those things where it's got to be at the track and as the moment happens, decision. You can't let it happen and then make a decision on Tuesday. It ultimately changes the outcome of the race.
Yep.
You just can't. And
Yep.
again, like that
Clear
scenario, there was
call it good.
there was no right rear hooking. No, that car did not get damaged by any means. It's just where is the offense? Where's the case?
Yep.
Because let's be honest, going back to the Austin Dillon situation at Richmond last year, I don't think he got fined or nothing happened because of what he did to Logano, but it's because of what he did to Hamlin.
Correct.
So again, if I'm Jesse Love or no, sorry, Sammy Smith, and I get a penalty, I'm appealing that immediately.
Yep.
Well, we can stay tuned as that gets sorted out. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that series goes from here, and if next week if it was just a short track Martinsville thing, or if that is really how those guys race. Hopefully it was just a Martinsville thing, but yeah, we can go from we will have to tune in next week and see what happens. So we want to touch briefly on the cup race. Well, the cup race was relatively, again, those guys, it was a
I
solid
thought,
race in
yep,
general.
and I thought like the first, like coming to the end of the first couple stages where you had some guys stay out on old tires to get track position and get stage points. I thought that really kind of jumbled the field up and definitely made it interesting nonetheless. Um, Obviously helped a couple guys like Blaney notably to get track position
Yep.
when he needed it.
Even
Priest, I
even
believe, was a benefactor of that too.
even Barry before he had issues,
Yep.
led a lot of laps. And again, that 21 car is just showing that they have speed.
Yep.
Even on old tires, they're proving that 21 is going to be a force to reckon with at some point here. So,
And you knew Barry is going to be a force to be reckoned with at Martinsville, period.
yep. But they were able to stay out and they led a fair amount of laps there on that strategy, and that helped them a ton before they had their issues. So, yeah. But I mean, other than that, it really was a fairly retrospectively a fairly tame race. There's a few instances you had Reddick and Gibbs get together. Hocevar didn't make it, or not Hocevar, I'm sorry. Chastain didn't make any friends as Logano was frustrated with him.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you had the Busher, Gregson dust up a little bit, but
You had Briscoe, Logano.
There was a handful that just happened, and ultimately that is kind of short track racing, but it wasn't a complete wreck fest.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got going, the racing on the long run was pretty solid.
We only had one car fall out of the race, and of course, broadcasters cursed as soon as Mike Joy was talking about it. They showed Centric getting pushed to the garage for his battery issues. So
Out of batteries. That's the first time I've heard that one. With 25 to go.
which
So
ultimately the alternator went on the car then.
right. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, obviously Reddick and Gibbs had a little conversation after the race. Busher and Gregson had a little conversation about it. But for the most part, once it got strung out and they were racing, it was fairly decent racing. It came down to just, again, most times what it comes down to is just what you got for tires.
Yep. And clean air is huge.
Yeah. And, Denny's very good at Martinsville. He carved his way through lap traffic. He was just meticulous. And, Bell was catching them there when it was just them two out front. But ultimately, when Hamlin got the lap traffic, he was just able to maneuver his way through lap traffic way better than Bell was.
Yep.
And I was going to say, as Christopher Bell referenced him or referred to him as the old Martinsville master, um, that was all Bell was hoping for, was to get to lap traffic. But when Denny got to lap traffic, but he was like a hot knife in butter. He was just cutting right through it. And you could tell by the end of through that or that burnout that he pulled off, Buddy had saved a good amount of tire. So
And then he literally burned it off at the front end of the car, sitting there too.
Yep.
He had
yeah,
a little rubber burning up in there.
but yeah, it was honestly the Barry thing sucked. Um,
Yeah.
that team is, I feel like, is stock up Wood Brothers.
Big time.
Big time.
And Barry being a short track guy and obviously getting the win earlier this year, I don't know. I hope that team can, obviously under the Penske umbrella, but um, stock up Wood Brothers, and I hope they just continue to keep rolling.
So
So just kind of going from there, even just talking about the race in general, kind of the news as of 7 minutes ago. Hamlin's car is good. He's the winner of the race. Jones and Ty Dillon are being taken to R&D, but Eric Jones was DQ'd for failure to meet the minimum weight requirement. Rest of the cars in tech were good. So, looking at the
you
race,
said Jones, right?
Eric Jones is scored 38th, behind Austin Cindric, who did not finish.
Which he finished 20. Jones initially finished 24th, anyways.
Yes.
One lap down.
So everyone else was good. So what you saw on the finish was that is confirmed.
One thing of note, I want to go jump back to Barry real quick. Just kind of hype it up that team again. So yes, Wood Brothers are under the Penske umbrella, but they're only under the Penske umbrella and the fact that that's where the cars were prepared. If I remember hearing an interview right with John Wood, I believe is his name. The pit crew is all hired by Wood Brothers. The sponsorship deals are all done by Wood Brothers.
Yep.
Picking Barry was done by the Wood Brothers themselves. Like that team still operates that car. They just get prepared under the Wood Brothers umbrella. Or not the Wood Brothers, Penske umbrella.
Yep.
So they're doing it their way, essentially.
And they're proving that they're fast.
Yep. So
Not only
another
that, but
guy.
you're gonna take my thunder. Stock up Ryan Preece.
Yes. 100%.
My race pick.
He
Yeah,
was
it
your
was.
race pick. I was a little hesitant on that at first, but
Hey, that's he's stringing together the top tens, baby.
well,
Look
what
at
did I
y'all.
tell you? It's third, ninth, and seventh
Yep.
in the last three races.
That currently has him. So I'm looking at Bob Pockers's tweet from 22 minutes ago. That has him 14 to the good in terms of points.
Just think that streak all started when he was the first one to throw on the option tire.
God, enough with
Ah,
the fire.
no, actually, because it would have been Vegas, Homestead today.
Ah, shoot. Well, didn't he?
Yeah, he finished in the top 10 of Phoenix. So currently, in terms of points, Bell, Byron, Larson, Hamlin, Barry. So then those are your winners in terms of points. Elliott, Bowman, Reddick, Bubba, Logano, Blaney, Busher, Briscoe, Chastain, Priest, McDowell are all above. And then below, Bush is 9 below, Allmendinger 11, Nemechek 13, Stenhouse 13. So that's how the
Uh,
points shake out after the race today.
I don't want to say another, driver that was getting on the hot seat too, but another team that I feel like stock up or driver stock up is Bubba Wallace.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I
yep.
think just, he's made a point of it too. First off, his boys, his pit crew, lights out.
Oh,
They're putting together some wicked quick stops, which is helping him out. But he's alluded to it too, which is all you can ask for is speed showing up out of the box. And he's had that. And I feel like over the last couple of years in that car, they give him that speed and he finds a way to put himself in a good spot. And then he, bites off a little bit more than he can chew and screws it up himself. But he is just right now, I feel like he's lights out. He's got speed and he's maximizing whatever they give him, he's maximizing it. And that is
I think you can see it in him a little bit. He's having fun again. He said it
well,
today. Having fun is fun. And I think when he's putting together these strong runs, like it takes the pressure out of the conversation of is Bubba going to make the playoffs? Like that's the conversation around him. And I think this group is a little bit more relaxed right now that they can go run races and just put together complete days. And when you look at it in the points, he's 58 to the good right now. So obviously it's early, but having good days and stringing together good complete days like this, it's just making the conversation easier around him.
the other thing too, obviously, one he's got a new career chief and Charles Denike, who's obviously showing off really good right now.
do you guys so quick side tangent. I want to be, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but shout out to our boy Derek Kraus when he fired up and was the bricklayer for McAnally Hilgeman Racing. The list of crew chiefs that he had, he's had some hammers. Didn't he have Ben Bashore? As I'm pretty sure he had him 1 year. Charles
Yep.
Denek, or however you say his last name, he had him
Yep.
for a year. I
Yep.
mean,
Well, you got to remember some of these guys got canned mid-season. Some of these
true.
guys they removed them mid-season.
But
He
anyways,
was
yeah.
one of them. Correct.
And he's coming from made the jump from Truck Series right to Cup, and yeah, that changes is paying huge dividends for him right now.
So, but the other thing too, where I was getting at with it is both him and Bubba Wallace, and I say this, I've said it multiple times before. They're both confident in what they're doing. And when you
Yep.
get a confident driver, that is a scary driver.
Yep. And they are right now. You can't count them out. Absolutely cannot count them out to win races here at some point.
Yep.
Potential multiple races. They're putting together.
Oh no,
At some point, you get to these points where you're running the top five all day. Something is just going to fall your way, and you're going to win a race.
Yep.
and that is, Freddie told. I feel like that was when Freddie would shout out to him when he would give, Derek Kraus when he was lower on the topic, or one of his episodes last year when he was talking, I think to Raja, like if you just run enough consistent races and you just take care of your stuff and you're there at the end of the race, sometimes wins will just find you.
Yep.
Yep.
All you gotta do is just be there at the end, take care of your stuff. It was the interview with Raja last year after he got his first win, and that's I feel like what Bubba's doing right now is he's just there at the end. And like you said, the scary part is Bubba. He used to be known as a one trick pony, and that was plate racing. And like you said, we are total different discipline here at short track racing, and Bubba's becoming a threat. So shout out to him and just his development, that team, they're giving him a piece wherever they go. So
You know,
who else am I
Um,
going to give a shout out?
let's
There's
see.
one other guy.
I mean, Todd Gilliland, top 10. Another one,
All
yep,
day.
just kind of
Yeah.
sneaking into there.
yep.
Mike McDowell finally kind of getting a good run with Spire, finishing 12th. Ty Gibbs finally finishes in the top 20. That isn't Daytona. Although he's
Yeah,
going,
Chastain finished 6th.
yep.
Logano 8th. Briscoe 9th. This is from 10th on down. So 10th of Gilliland. Blaney, McDowell, Gibbs, Reddick, Ty Dillon 15th. Zane Smith 16th. Bush 17th. Austin Dillon 18th. Hocevar 19th. Stenhouse 20th.
And we talk about too. This is a track that will be back to playoffs come the fall. So huge for some teams, but I guess a driver that has led every single race this year, that was, you could give him the Magic Man award this week. Now you see him, now you don't. William Byron. Jeez.
Yeah, you struggled.
That's a good one. I kind of like that.
22nd.
You didn't see or hear from him all day. So
Yeah,
I mean,
you didn't see him, and then all you heard of him was he led every race this season, and then they go, "Oh, not today."
and coming to
Especially
the
with how
coming
good
to the white
Hendrick,
flag, he was about to be a lap down.
especially with how good Hendrick Motorsports is at Martinsville.
Yeah, it used to be a team that could put 4 cars in the top 5. Well,
They did.
This is what happens when you don't have collusion.
oh my God,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
big
Um,
conspiracy theory guy you are.
yeah, struggle from him today. Just wow.
Bowman struggled mightily.
Big time. Yeah.
Oh, what ended up what
27th.
it was what did he have? He had the bad pit stop, and then what else did he have go wrong? He had a bad pit stop where whatever happened, he ended up having to back up or whatever. And I don't know if
I mean, he
that was
finished a
the
lap
sole.
down.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the sole reason. Jeez.
Brad K, 26th. Yeah, interesting story. I mean, at the end of the day, the end of the race played out really well.
Yep.
It all came down to what speed you had in the car, and I thought Bell was going to have a chance to give Denny a good run for his money, and then, like we just mentioned, Denny just carved through lap traffic, and that was the end of it.
I was waiting for one more last caution to group them all up, and
Yep. At the end of the day, the other part of this is Progressive is going, hell yeah,
pretty good investment already.
hell yeah, race
Sec-
number 2, and they're
Yep.
marching around in victory lane.
Yep.
I mean, talk about ROI. They're loving that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So, no, good race. I mean, I know, there's always going to be just the nature of Martinsville. There's going to be a little rough and rowdy at a certain point, but it's just about how much you can minimize it and keep the adage of cautions breeding cautions. How much can you keep those away from each other? And I felt like today we did a fairly respectable job of that.
Cup guys showing how
It
it should be.
was.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other final thoughts on the Cup?
No, good race.
Yep.
Heading to Darlington next week, baby.
Oh, I love Darlington.
Throwback weekend too.
Yep. I mean, we got one bad throwback in the field though. That the Chase Elliott 9 car, something went wrong there.
I didn't even see it.
Something's not right there. It's bad. But yeah, any kind of other final thoughts on the Cup Series here?
No, let's
No.
throw her up on the high side. Let's go on the cushion. let's talk a little bit of, I haven't talked about them in a while. Let's just give a little state of the state of sprint car racing, touch on a few headlines from each series. I feel like we haven't talked about them a ton recently, and they're getting into, well, partially because they're in the early parts of their season, but they're starting to ramp up here. And so let's just touch on a little bit of the Wu Gang, the World Outlaws, and just I'll kick it to you guys. What early thoughts you guys have, early predictions, whatever thoughts on the World Outlaws here, um, sprint cars.
Well, I think the big elephant in the room is that Gravel is just kicking ass
Gone.
and taking names.
He's gone. Yeah. He's nearly got 100 points on the field already. I think I looked. I think he was 78. He was 78 points ahead of number 2 already.
Well, I'm
68.
trying to remember too, and I'm going to see if I can find some stats on it here. There's not been many races where he hasn't gotten fast time either.
Without Brad Sweet in that series, he's about to go on a Brad Sweet run.
Yeah, so David
Yeah.
Gravel, they've run 13 races so far. He's got 13 top fives.
Dog will bark.
Well, that dog will really bark. And yes, he is 78 points above Carson Macedo, who runs second in points.
Who was his championship threat last year as well.
Correct. 5. So they've run 13 races. He's got 5 wins and 13 top 5. So that car is not finished outside of the top 5. And he's nearly winning at a 50% clip.
Yep.
Call it 40%. So it's going to be the David Gravel show until he gets in his own way.
That's the one I was looking for. He's got 9 quick times so far this year.
Out of 13 races.
Out of 13 races, he's got 9.
That means starting on the pole of the heat race, most times that finds you in the redraw or the quick dash, whichever.
Because you're in first place in your heat.
Yeah, most times, that kind of sets you up for that. Not always, but it gives you a chance at it right out of the gate. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of has come down to it's the David Gravel show.
Yeah. I had something bookmarked. I got rid of it because I thought we were going to talk about it, and now I'm regretting getting rid of it because I wanted to talk about it. But if I remember seeing right, this is also the quickest in the sprint car world that a driver has gotten to. Oh, here it is. That a driver has gotten to $100,000 in earnings.
Yep.
On the year.
So interesting you say that. You can't look on the World of Outlaw website. You can't look at earnings, but high limit.
Yes, you can actually.
Oh, you can?
You have to click on the driver profile.
Got it. Okay. So they just don't list it like high limit does.
Correct. Yep.
He is.
Oh yeah, he's on a whole other level.
Should we just hand him the trophy now, or?
Well, I mean, again, obviously it's early in the year, but and obviously we talked about Carson Macedo, Logan Schuart's having a decent year that are sitting within 100 points behind him. And again, we got a long stretch of season to go here yet. Sheldon Haunshield's always a threat. This is obviously, hopefully this will turn out to be a career year for Bill Baylog as well. Obviously last year was a big learning year for him, being a rookie on the season or on the series. Sophomore season, a little more adept. Just had Honest Abe Roofing hop onto the car with him, so he's got a little bit more sponsorship help there as well. Got over their mechanical woes, and hopefully the confidence is up on him a little bit.
You look at the top 10 in points. 10th place is 296 points back already. Sure.
Got a long season ahead of us yet.
Long season ahead, but that's a lot of points to overcome when you're racing against a guy that's 99% of the time going to qualify in the top 5.
Yep.
You kind of talk about being behind the 8 ball. You could have a career night and still just be behind the 8 ball given the circumstances.
Yeah.
So he's going to be tough to beat. There's no doubt about it.
Yep.
I think
So
the state of the world, the Wu Gang can be said the championship runs through the gravel team. And if you want a shot, you want to contend, there's your target, the black and orange too.
the big game motorsports crew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let's hop over to the other side of the rivalry and let's talk some high rollers in the high limit series. I think we can start off with, we just touched about um, with this man missing from the Wu Gang, gravel, it's all gravel show. Brad Sweet, um, talk about just steady Eddie. I feel like that man just doesn't miss a beat.
No. Yeah, I
Even
mean
with the crew change.
he's just got to figure it out.
Yep.
What it is. And Brad Street obviously throughout the year ends up being most of the time your highest winning driver, your most winning driver on the year. But he knows so well how to run a full season.
Well, and the thing,
He's so good at it.
so we just talked about gravel. Let's talk about Brad Sweet. High limits run 6 races. Brad Sweet's won 2 of them, and he's not finished outside of the top 5. He's got 2 wins, and he's finished in the top 5 in every single event. So again, when you talk about points racing, he might not win every night, but you can guarantee from that 2 to 5 range or 2 to 6 range, that 49 is going to be in there.
I mean, looking at last year, he ran in 51 features. He won 10, so every 1 out of 5 he won essentially. He was in the
Yep.
top 35 of those races, and he was top 10, 44 of those races. So I mean, just again, you get the consistency. If you want to get to second place, who keep in mind was 297 points back from him, Tyler Courtney also ran same number of races, won 6 features, but I think the big difference there is that he had 10 less top 10s than what Sweet had.
Yep. And even then, so even this year, we just talked about Brad finishing in the top 5 in all 6 events. This year alone, in the 6 events that they've run, Tyler Courtney has no feature wins and only 3 top 5s.
Yep.
Now he's finished in the top 10 in all 6 events.
So he's finishing.
He's finishing in the top 10, but that separation from top 5 to top 10 is led him already to be 47 points back of Brad Sweet.
Yep.
Again, a boatload of racing to do, but that just means any night out, you got to finish ahead of the 49 to make ground in the points standings.
Now, a couple of guys that have been showing up here a little bit lately, Brent Marks, he's kind of full-time again. He could be a surprise contender. Rico Abreu obviously learned how to run a series schedule last year. Could maybe pick up a couple things. But, if you want to get to a little bit more recent here, Aaron Reitzel's won 2 out of 3 races.
I saw a tweet on Twitter, and I think it came from, I think it was the Houston's Heckler. They just said, you might not like it, but Aaron Reitzel's going to be fast this year.
Yep.
And he has proven this year already that he's going to be fast.
And he missed a feature for obvious reasons that were discussed earlier.
Yep.
But 5 features. He's got 4 top 10s on the year. And obviously he's got the 2 wins.
Yep. So, a -1 on that. He's 3 for 5 on finishing in the top 5 in features that he's run. So 4 for 5 on being in the top 10. So he's shown that he's going to have speed in that race car wherever he goes. So
I've got a question I want to pose to you guys, and I think this comes up from a little bit of recent history here as well. We'll say in the past handful, 2-3 races. There's been a big thing missing on a certain guy's resume. I'm talking about Casey Kane here. Does he finally win a 410 sprint car race?
he finished second the other night.
He won his heat race. He finished third a couple nights before that.
He's finding speed.
This is where we lose the PG rating on our episode. Yes, he's gonna win it. He's gonna win it on a fucking Casey Kane Friday.
Could you imagine?
Twitter,
Oh,
Twitter, the Twitter would shut down because it would explode.
if he wins on Casey Kane Friday, and he comes out with any kind of merch to go with it, I'm buying it.
Yep.
FKKF.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. And we always have questioned, you know, how does he always racing mid pack of a B main when he's got a series championship teammate everywhere he goes? But who knows? Things might start finally be look, those things are again, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but I don't. Um, I can just about imagine the learning curve he's been on with those things. And
Yeah.
so it just might finally, everything is all coming together for him. And by God, I hope it does. And he gets a win because, wow.
Yeah. And again, that comes off of the heel of the major changes that they've had within Casey Kane Racing.
Yep.
You know, Prutzman steps away. Well, Prutzman's been a huge part of the success with Brad Sweet. Now, yes, he's been with Brad Sweet, but he's obviously very savvy around a sprint car, and he steps away, and you wonder, well, what's that going to do to performance? Well, hello, number 9 car sponsored by Hendrick Cars and Casey Kane's screen printing. Here he is.
Need to correct myself. Won't be his first 410 sprint car win. I went through a little bit of history. It would just be his first win, at least with high limit.
Correct.
Just to clarify.
Oh, we're gonna celebrate like it's his first win.
I mean, it'll be a very big moment for that whole obviously 9 team, but just Casey Kane Racing collectively.
Yep. When the boss can win.
It makes everybody a little happier.
Yep.
Be a big day for that Twitter page too. Big
I
day
ask,
for mine
I
too.
ask, I ask Parker Klickerman questions every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is kind of the state of 410s and the World Outlaws and the High Rollers. And so as we touch on again, they're getting rolling here. Season's starting to really pick up for them. And so it is going to be interesting just to see who starts, names are flashing here and there in the top 3, 4. Who are we going to see that's going to finally who are we going to see that's going to consistently put their name up there? So it will be it'll be interesting to see. So you guys don't have any other final thoughts? Let's get into giving out an award. And while we speak, geez, somebody's throwing in some last minute wrenches. But let's give out the Wheelman of the Week award here. We can.
I think we got
We
3 nominees here.
got 3
Yep.
nominees. Do we have 4? I mean, could you throw Casey Kane in there?
Not ready for that one yet.
All right.
Look,
Okay.
it's got to be consistent. You can't be a one-trick pony. It's got to
Correct.
be consistent, proven. We'll go from there.
Yep.
All right. Who wants to take the first one? I'll get Kellen. You take the first one since you had eyes on it.
Yeah, I had eyes on this one. Bobby Pierce swept the weekend with the Mars late models at Makokata. 10,000 to win Friday, 15,000 to win Saturday. He held off the likes of some really good cars in RTJ, Brandon Shepard, Brian Shirley was good. Garrett Alberson had a decent weekend and was pushing him a little bit. So he went 2-0 on the weekend. Obviously, the World of Outlaw guys, a little test and tune. Obviously, a lot of them are sponsored by Holker Trucking. Obviously, Holker Promotions puts on the event. But looking ahead to August, when the World of Outlaw late models come to Makokata, obviously some guys want to get some seat time in at that facility. So he's proven that when they show up in August, he'll be the guy to beat on both nights of that show. So Bobby Pierce is nominee number 1.
I think I saw from our pal Racing Jason. I think he said on Saturday that this is Bobby Pierce's world and we're just paying rent.
Yep. When we talked with him, the over under on him on the year was 40. He's got 8 already, and we're not out of March.
Correct.
Oh, we're
So
20% of the way there. 20% of the way there.
Yep.
Tire changer.
yeah,
Did
I'll
have you?
take this next one. So I mentioned him a little bit earlier when we were talking about high limit. Aaron Reitzel. I mean, he won on this past Friday, making it back-to-back wins with high limit from winning the weekend before. I didn't see where he actually finished on Saturday. Let me check real quick. Finished fourth on Saturday. Excuse me. So he's, like I said, he's starting to be a little bit more consistent on his runs. He's kind of, as you were saying, Kellen, could be a threat to run fast this year. So again, get a little bit more consistent, keep that consistency going.
I mean, that average finish right now in the last 3 races is a 3.
Correct.
Two
Yep.
ones and a 4 with a busted up face, let's be honest. Not
Yeah.
only is he just putting together good weekends, he's doing it with a little bit of literally physical adversity.
Yep. So I have thrown in there. I would say Aaron Reitzel would be another nomination for Wheelman of the Week, and especially since we kind of not snubbed him, but he was in consideration last week, and we decided to go with Larson.
Yep.
Um, I'm gonna. I'll nip this one in the butt right now. He's not gonna win it, but we'll just shout him out. Ryan Preece. I feel like be a wheelman, you gotta win. You gotta win a race. Um, to win the award. Um, but this man he's got elbows up right now. And he's done it week in and week out. So, um, Ryan, if you're listening, we're not going to give you the award this week, but promise you, if you win a race, you're getting that thing. So, um, I feel like you could be in there, but, I feel like if you're going to be the wheelman of the week, you got to get a win, or you got to really hard charge it. Dead last to second. Um, you went what 22 to 7, so
21-7.
21 to
Yep.
7. So, um, look, heck of a drive. That guy is the team changes. RFK is giving him a good piece every week. He is maximizing it. Top 10 week in, week out. Feel like he's a nominee, but he just feel like
He's
you got to
that
get a
little
win.
more.
Just or just a little bit more. So
Before we vote here, Kellen, I think you mentioned last week that at some point in time we're going to get a non-NASCAR guy as a wheelman of the week, and if we're eliminating Priest out of this, we will have a non-NASCAR driver as our wheelman of the week. So,
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna vote Reitzel.
I'm Reitzel.
oh, it's unanimous then.
Aaron Reitzel, wheelman of the week. Hey, is this our first dirt winner, by the way,
It is our
too?
first. Well, no, we had Baylog on there,
Oh, yeah, Baylog.
and then whatever you
Larson
want to
was right
consider
there.
Corey Day.
Corday and Larson. Geesh. Should have done my research on that one first. But first true high limit driver to get the wheelman of the week, full time with the high limit series.
Yep.
So obviously the story of smashing his nose, missing a race, spent a little time in the hospital, and then they poked the bear with that whole situation, and he said, "Not so quick, folks," and decided he wanted to win 2 races and finish in the top 5. So,
Hey, nothing feels better than winning.
amen. That cures everything really quickly.
Cool. So that is our wheelman of the week. Shout out Aaron Reitzel. If you're listening, Aaron, and you're looking for something, we'll just give you a shout out on social media, like, share, comment. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe, and we'll be in contact with you soon. Let's get into some race previews for this upcoming week, and kick it to the old Jackman first, and hit us with your race preview.
Yeah, ASA Stars National Tour gets going. Obviously, we had touched on it in the news with UARA more so Cordell making an adjustment to their schedule to accommodate the ASA Stars National Tour. This will be the third race of the season, co-sanctioned with our Tire Changers favorite series, the Southern Super Series. Top 7 in points in that series: Bichelle, Butcher, Nassy, Howard, Craig, Phillips, and Pollard are your top 7, all within 54 points of one another. So, new track for them this year. So I'll be curious to see who unloads fast and how that race shakes out.
I'm just curious what kind of track that is, period. I believe the Cars Tours race there, but I just don't remember.
It's a little quarter mile, I believe.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Ray, I'll do a little bit looking. Go ahead, carry on.
I'll hop in. I'll hop in on this next one and just touch on some um, dirt super late model racing. Again, that is picking up for us as well. And so, 2 series going this weekend, and we're going to shout out here first the World Outlaws late models, 2 nights of racing at Atomic for 12,000 and 15,000 to win. And then if you're down in the south, the Hunt Front Super Dirt Series, they are got 2 nights of racing at the Talladega Short Track for 8 and 12,000 to win. So some good super dirt super late model racing going to be in action this weekend, and you catch those live on Dirt Vision or on Front TV.
Last little couple of races here. We were just talking about these two, the World Outlaw sprint cars and the high limit sprint cars. Starting with the World Outlaws, they're going to be at Arrowhead for 2 nights. Probably one of the drivers' favorite weekends on the year, the Jason Johnson Classic. This has always been a big one for guys to win, just with how much of a memorial race this is. So be tuned in for that one. That'll also be on Dirt Vision. You also got High Limit Racing, which will be in 3 nights of racing this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, at 3 different tracks. They're going to be at Vado, Route 66, and then Dodge City Raceway Park for 3 nights of racing. You know, if you want to throw one more 410 sprint car group into there, the RA sprint cars are also in action this weekend. So
let's get the old high limit series back on the East Coast, please.
Real quick, I'll run through the past winners and what else is coming up on the weekend. We touched on high limit a little bit. Aaron Reitzel obviously got his win. Brad Street won on the Saturday race. Hunt the Front, Dalton Cook wins the Friday night 8,000 to win race, but then Saturday night was rained out. Nelson will be rained out for back-to-back years. Truck Series, Dan Hemrick gets his first career Truck Series win. With Hookman McNally racing. As we mentioned, Bobby Pierce swept. Buddy Colfoyd won the World Outlaw Sprint Car race at Lawton Speedway. The second race at 81 Speedway was postponed due to high winds, to be determined as far as a reschedule for that. Cars Tour, late model stock cars were at Wake County Speedway. Mini Tyrell wins that one. Austin Hill won the Xfinity race, and then obviously Hamlin won the Cup Series race. Looking at the week ahead, some ones that we just haven't mentioned. I mentioned the IRA Sprint Cars at 34 Raceway for their openers. USAC Anzolo Sprint Cars, 4 Sprint Cars in action. They're going to be at Paragon and Red Hill Raceway this weekend. I'm a little bit of a fan of that, so I'll be hopefully tuned in for those. World Outlaw late models. Oh, I think you touched those already. Those are Atomic. The Arca Menards West, they will be at Tucson Speedway. NASCAR Wheel and Modified. This is the rescheduled race from today, actually, as we record, of the Wheel and Modified race at Thompson Speedway. They'll be racing on the 5th. And then you got Formula One racing at the Japanese Grand Prix at the Suzuka Court Circuit.
Yep. Xfinity and Cup Darlington.
Yep.
If we haven't mentioned. Yep.
Yep. So
speaking of Cup racing, going to Darlington, touching on some rolling race picks and standings here. This gap is just getting bigger and bigger, boys.
This isn't good.
Dropping the hammer on you guys. So last week, we had Blaney for the old tire changer, or Jack Manwin Priest, and Ding ding.
Good weeks.
Give me the old Martinsville Master. I picked Denny Hamlin to win. So, if my mind serves me, it is going to go tire changer, jack man, gas man. So,
Yeah.
fire away.
So I have 2 picks here written down. I'm gonna skip my second pick. I'm gonna go with my first one, which I'm gonna hold off on my second pick to see if anybody else picks them. But I am gonna go with Kyle Larson to win at Darlington.
I'm going to go a little bit off script again. I did it last week and it kind of paid me a little dividends. In the spring race last year, he finished third for Stuart Haas. This 21 car is lights out. Give me Josh Berry.
All right. Got 2 coming to mind. Wow, I'm actually just thrown off by that race pick. Wow. Over the last 4 races, got an average finish of 8.5. Give me the 9, Chase Elliott.
Bad pick. The other one that I was gonna go with was Chris Buescher. Given in the 2024 in the spring race, he finished towards the back, but that was also because him and Reddick were racing for the lead of that race. If you want to look a little more recent in the fall race, he finished 6th. So he was my second pick.
He didn't finish there well in one of the races there last year, but
Well, that's like I said, that's
last
because him and Reddick were in the wall racing each other for the lead.
no, I know, but the other one I was thinking, no, I was going to say he didn't finish well there one of the races last year, but typically saw there when we shouted him out. Bubba Wallace was when I was the last couple Darlington races. He's had some solid top 10 finishes,
Sure.
but yeah. And then Cal, you want to give a update on the fantasy?
Yeah, so looking at the fantasy for the week at Martinsville, Jared put on another scorcher of a week. Ends up winning the week. Gasman Cam 2. Cam, your fiance as well, finished third at 214. Tire changer Cam 213. Myself at 210. Sophie's pit picks at 159. So she had a little bit of a rough week. So, what does that mean for the league standings? Gasman Cam assumes the lead at 1360. Jared's running second at 1336. Tire changer Cam is tied for third with myself at 1286. Fifth being Gasman's Girl at 1203 and Sophie's Pit Picks at 1143. So a little bit of a rough stretch there for a few of our bottom runners, unfortunately. So that's the fantasy.
A lot of season left. A lot of season left.
There is, but for the performance I put on, disappointing in the guys that I used because I spared no expenses this week and it cost me a use.
I'll use.
Finishing where I did because I had quite the hammers in my lineup, unfortunately. So that kind of left me with, when you're using guys like Elliott, Hamlin, Logano, and Bell,
And
you can't be finishing second to last.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where we're at fantasy wise.
Next week you can stick in Josh Berry. See if that changes your results.
What a relief to take the load off of some of these power teams that we got going on. Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
You can put him in there and not have to use a Penske and feel all right about it, or not have to use a Hendrick or a Gibbs and feel all right about it. So, yeah, little side tangent there.
Yep.
Any other final thoughts?
No, just looking ahead to next week's episode.
Yeah, and if you guys want to chime in here too, next week we've got a special guest on here. And we are excited for this one again. We're broadening the horizons a little bit. We've been going with driver, and now we're gonna broaden the horizon. And correct me if I'm wrong. Official title: race director or series director.
Series director.
Yep.
So I don't know if you guys want to give the official announcement or if you want to say, hey, tune in next week and you can catch that episode.
See you next week.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we got a series director coming on the podcast. So if you didn't think we're big time, we're about to be. So no, but in all honesty, we're excited for that. Going to be a ton of fun. And per usual, you're going to get three of us asking some wild questions and get some good conversation out of that, different perspective on racing. So super pumped for that. That will be coming out next week. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, as we wrap this episode up, as always, don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe. If you got a friend that's down in the dumps, send them our recent episode. That'll lift their spirits. And we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Tuesday Track Talk.